why do we as human beings crave sugar? Why is this such a pernicious problem and affecting all of us for all time? Sugar, it's something that we naturally crave. We find it in fruit during the summer, and it's an adaptation. We want to find the fruit, we want to eat it because it's actually helping us gain weight. It's a healthy adaptation. It's helping us put on weight during the summer months, and that allows us to survive during the winter months, just like a bear hibernating in a cave. You got to put on weight, prepare for those lean, tough winters, right? Where food becomes scarce. So it's about scarcity and abundance. So we are naturally, biologically, we are hardwired to desire sugar, but it's supposed to be scarce. It's supposed to be limited. Obviously, nowadays, we're living in an entirely different world. So that's why it's really important that we get these key concepts in our minds, straighten out these ideas so we can really act accordingly. So we no longer live in the world of our ancestors, right? We got to live in the 21st century. So we desire sugar. It helps us put on weight. That normally helps us survive. Nowadays, we have more people that are dying from overeating than undereating. So everything's flipped upside down. So that brings us to diabetes. This is a modern day problem. So we've got the body's response after we consume all of this sugar. So let's say you're one of our ancestors, you're roaming around, you find a fig tree. Oh my goodness, it's a jackpot. You don't know when you're going to eat again. You got to eat while you can. You're driven to eat as much as you can, right? Food's going to be scarce in the winter. You want to pack on the pounds. So you start eating. But now what's going to happen on the inside? What about your body's reaction, right? The body has its own drugs, right? The body makes its own drugs. A lot of them, we know them as hormones. So your body's naturally going to have a hormonal response after you eat all that food. You're going to be digesting it. It's going to be going into your blood. So, your blood glucose, your blood sugar, same thing. And this is important because it's going to affect everything in your body. Once it gets into your blood, it circulates throughout the whole body, and in particular your brain, which uses a lot of blood sugar. So it's really important for keeping your kids regulated. So if you have problems, it's also going to be a problem that presents itself everywhere because it circulates all throughout your body. So after consuming all the figs in the fig tree, how does your body react? Naturally, your body's going to produce insulin. Insulin is a hormone, helps us store fat, helps us take the blood sugar out of the blood and into the rest of our body so that we can use it for energy, right? Your neurons need that sugar. So that gets us to type 1 versus type 2 diabetes. Okay. What's the problem here? Well, if you are a type 1 diabetic, then your body doesn't produce any insulin at all. Your body doesn't produce its own insulin as a reaction, and therefore you can't get that blood sugar out of your blood. It goes higher and higher and higher without insulin to keep it regulated. That is a problem. If you get too much sugar into your blood, it becomes toxic, literally toxic. So that's why we naturally have a hormone, insulin, which regulates our blood sugar, gets it out of our blood and into the rest of our bodies, into our muscles, into our cells, so that we can actually use that energy to survive and thrive. So a type 1 diabetic, they don't make any of their own insulin. Their pancreas is not producing insulin. So they're actually going to have to buy some and inject it. You have to buy a vial of insulin and inject it into your body every time you eat a meal so that you can actually absorb that blood sugar and keep your blood sugar regulated and not have it become reaching a toxic level. Okay, so that's really what type 1 diabetes is all about. Your body is not producing any of its own insulin. It cannot regulate its blood sugar. So you got to buy insulin from somewhere else and inject it into your body with a syringe. So, what about type 2? Right? The vast majority of people with diabetes have type 2. Okay, this is affecting everybody. So, we discussed previously where the terms type 1 and type 2 come from. We used to call type 2 diabetes adult onset diabetes because it would take time to develop. All right. You would find it developing in adults, but not in children. But nowadays, children are developing type 2 diabetes way too frequently. They had to change the name, change it from adult onset. All right. No more. We got type 1. Now we have type 2 because now so many children are getting it. So what's the big difference here? Right? Type 1, your body's not producing insulin at all, but type 2, your body does produce insulin. What's the problem? Your body has been producing so much insulin as a reaction to taking in sugar with the food that we have nowadays. Your body has actually become resistant to its own insulin, built up a tolerance. So now the same amount of insulin, it doesn't get the job done anymore. So your body's producing more and more and more, and it's having less and less of an effect. So you're becoming less sensitive to the insulin. You're building up a resistance, also known as a tolerance. So just like drinking alcohol, right? This can be a big problem. You know, people can build up a tolerance to alcohol. The more and more and more that they drink, the more of a tolerance they get. So that is a big problem because now your body is not sensitive to the insulin hormone. So you can't regulate your blood sugar properly and you can reach those toxic levels. Then you've got a problem in your bloodstream circulating all throughout your body and especially into your brain. So this is extremely important for keeping your kids regulated, keeping them focused, mentally, physically strong. You got to get their blood sugar regulated and under control. All right. So building up insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes is very common. And just like alcohol tolerance, it's not quite as black and white as we usually say. Like, oh, you have diabetes, you don't have diabetes. It's, you know, off and on. It's actually not quite like that. It's more like a sliding scale, just like tolerance to anything else, right? Some people are a little bit more tolerant than others. So it is a sliding scale. You can be pre-diabetic, right? You're on your way, you're gaining resistance, you're gaining that tolerance. That's going to be a problem, but maybe you're not at that level where you reach a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. All right. But you are still on that sliding scale. We all are. All right. So this has a big impact for all of the kids. So it's not all or nothing. It's a sliding scale. Okay. Good news, actually. What does that mean? It's reversible. Just like with alcohol, you can change your tolerance level. You just need to give your body a little bit of a break. Not consuming so much sugar, not provoking that insulin response over and over and over again. Give your body a little bit of a break. Then you can become more sensitive to the insulin. And then your blood sugar is going to be regulated. You're going to let your body do what it naturally does. So that is where the food choices come in, right? Give your body a break, allow it to recover. So that's the big difference here between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So again, type 1 diabetes, you're not producing any insulin response. Type 2 diabetes, you are producing an insulin response, but it's less and less effective. You're becoming resistant to your body's own natural hormones. So now everything's getting all out of whack. So keep in mind, this is reversible, right? We just need to help the kids improve their eating habits, cook more nutritious foods, get our frame of mind right. So we understand why this is so important, why we don't want to ignore nutrition, even though it's one of the scariest things to talk about. It's very difficult for people to talk about food, talk about nutrition, but it's really important that we get our arms around this problem for the kids. Okay. We've had life expectancy going down over the past few years. There are many reasons for that, but the food that we eat is a big factor. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much.